My guest today is Ron Manseth, and Ron is president and transformational business coach at Revenue Vortex, an organization that provides coaching and consulting services to business owners, entrepreneurs, and individuals around the world. He has centered his life around pursuing experiences and adventures in his varied passions, having traveled to many parts of the world. His career has allowed him to have experience in high tech and entrepreneurship, having worked for IBM and HP, followed by the launch of many businesses and startups. A big shift happened about 8 years ago when he realized what he really wanted to do is to be of service to others, helping them find success and their best life. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Gail, for having me on your show. I feel really honored to be here, especially
Well,
after.
it's interesting. Why do you think it takes many people so long to really find their true passion? I mean, you were evidently a very analytical, high tech person, which I am not.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and about 8 years ago, this shift happened. So what happened to you at that point? Now, I mean, you call yourself a transformation coach, and you transformed yourself first. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it actually started not 8 years ago, but it started earlier in my life. And one of my mentors said that anyone can change their life in an instant, but they just don't believe that they can. And so at that time, I was in my latter 20s, actually my 20s when I heard that, and I struggled with the concept for quite a while. I just couldn't figure out, especially being an analytical person, I couldn't figure out how that could be possible. And then someone told me to do a couple of exercises over a 2-day period. And that was one of my aha moments in life. In the first day, he said, look around randomly throughout the day, and whatever you see, say that blank has no meaning. So you'd say that chair has no meaning, that Mercedes has no meaning, that my home has no meaning, my son has no meaning. And you just do it randomly. And then he said the next day, so basically, the world doesn't have any meaning. The next day, do the same thing, but when you randomly say things, say, I give this blank its meaning. So using the same examples, I give that chair its meaning. I give that Mercedes its meaning. I give my home its meaning. I give my son his meaning. And I realized through that exercise how we view the world is inside of us. We see the world with the meaning that we give things in it. So we do have the ability to change our life in an instant by giving things different meanings right now. So we change the meaning of one thing, and the way we see the world changes around it. We change the meaning of even more things, the world changes even more. So, that it was kind of in that aha moment that I realized that the power of changing the world lies inside of us, and it's the power to do so right now. And that was a really, really empowering moment, and it changed the way I saw the world and where I needed to place my focus within myself. And so I started living my life that way from my 20s on, latter 20s on. And it really impacted me when I was working for IBM as an account exec in San Diego, and I was doing really well. I was leading a large opportunity worth many millions of dollars, implementing the first CAD/CAM or computer design system of its kind worldwide. It was a huge success, and I got a lot of awards and had people calling me from all over the world to see how we did it. And it's in that moment that I realized, because even though I was getting accolades and a lot of money around it, I felt somewhat empty and unfulfilled. And which really took me by surprise, because why wouldn't I feel more elated in that moment? And I realized that the journey of getting to that point on the project, the actual process of making the opportunity a success, and doing it because intrinsically I wanted to do it, was actually the real reward. It wasn't the outcome, it was the journey. So that started me in my early 30s on a 2 to 3 period of deep introspection, where I did a lot of reading on personal development and going deep inside to figure out what life was all about and how to live my best life big.
Interesting. I was going to say that first part of the exercise, that would be so depressing for me that nothing had any meaning. I'm glad you came back with day two. That's good. Well, so when you tell people you're a transformation coach, what do they say?
Um, well, it really depends on who the person is. Um, it depends on where they are in their life and whether they're willing to the point where they're willing to change. What I found is that you can't be a coach and go out and know that you have the way for everybody. You may know how to help them transform their life, but everybody needs to be at the point where they're ready for that change to occur. And then the coaching is really powerful. And I was so glad I discovered it because, I was a consultant before, I was in business development and sales. But what coaching taught me is that the real change occurs when a person is allowed to make that change themselves. And that the coach, and this is the way I work with all my clients, is I create a space, and then I know how to ask questions. The questions kind of come at the right moment to allow them to transform themselves. So the question that you asked is, what do people ask about being a transformational coach? They do ask, what does it mean? And that's exactly what it means. It means that I'm a coach, either a personal coach or a business coach, that creates a space, and I allow and know the kind of the steps or process to take people through to help them transform their life.
So what is it? What are some of the things that you think stop people from living a big life? I mean, I of course would think everybody would want to live a big life, but then again, a big life means something different to different people. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of interesting in terms of that. But why do you think people don't want to live a big life? Of course, there's that whole thing about fear of failure, fear of success, fear of this and
Mm-hmm.
that. So maybe that
Yes.
plays into it. But what do you think happens?
Well, and I wanted to comment on what you just said, that living a big life is really an individual thing. Some people think a big life. Well, I don't want to live a big life. Gail, you live a big life. You're awesome. You're out there influencing a lot of people. But to some people, a big life is just being there as a parent for their kids, and that's phenomenal. Um, so it really is very individual. But in terms of what stops people, there's a lot of contributors. But I think there's four really big ones. Um, the first is not taking personal responsibility for your life. And I almost don't even like bringing that up because the term personal responsibility has a negative meaning to so many because it's been used as, in punishment when we were kids or to manipulate us by others, especially at work. However, that doesn't change the importance of it in living a great life. And we see people not taking personal responsibility for their lives all the time. But of course, we don't do it, do we? It's not us, it's them not taking personal responsibility. But we may be the biggest culprit of all, or at least it feels that way when we once realize that we're doing it ourselves. And it shows up in many forms. It's blaming our boss for making our life so miserable at work. It's the weather that is making me feel depressed today. It's the man who just cut me off so that it made me outraged. It's my parents who didn't have enough money to put me through college that caused me to be in this dead-end job. The blame and judgments are absolutely endless, and we don't even know why we're caught in this trap. But we don't know that we are caught in this trap. So the instant we blame something out there, we absolutely give away our power. The thing out there needs to change before our life gets better. And as soon as we get in this trap, we don't see that we have the power to change right now. So it's important to take personal responsibility for everything in your life, including your emotions. People say, well, my emotions, people do things and it makes me mad or it makes me angry or whatever, but no one can make you feel anything. It's all you. 100% of your reactions in life are caused by you. So once you take responsibility for those and everything in your life, you're in the driver's seat, can change your life. But without personal responsibility, you can't.
Well,
The second one, yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, it's very true what you're saying, and of course, people actually do this by rationalization. I mean, when something happens, they're already thinking about the excuse they're going to use for why something happened or why they acted the way they did. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think, frankly, I think taking responsibility and saying those words um, is really important.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's powerful, so powerful. And I put it as number one because until that happens, change won't occur. It
Well,
can't.
you're right. You're right. I mean, people have got to want to change. I mean, it doesn't happen by magic. But when people are going through all of this suffering, what are you doing to help them? How do you help them?
Yeah, and Gail, can I do the other three
Of
real quick?
course. Sure.
Okay, and then I'll come back around to what you just asked. And I think number two is not having a compelling vision. So many people meander through life, but not having really anything that causes them to jump out of bed in the morning. So each day feels similar to the boring day just before it. Life becomes really dull and meaningless. And we've all been there. So creating a compelling vision, a vision on how you want your life to look at sometime in the future, 3 to 5 years out, creates a real powerful pull in life. It allows people to more easily make decisions because they're part of something that they're creating and working towards that they personally are excited about. It's their vision of an amazing life. It's
Well,
their
it
creation.
must be, for me, it's hard to even imagine that, because I've kind of had all these goals and visions all my life. But
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to imagine what life would be like if you didn't have this goal or this vision. And, for some people, it could be raising their kids, it could be making sure that they're provided for, maybe making sure they're living in a safe neighborhood. I mean, there's all kinds of goals that people can have. But
Mm-hmm.
again, there are, I assume, some people who are the basic needs. We go through that Maslow hierarchy of needs, and at the very basic low point, who just say, "I've got to get through the day." I can't think about tomorrow. I can't think about a week from now. I've got to get through the day to make sure that. And I often think of single mothers in this situation. Who the father takes no responsibility and doesn't contribute to them at all. And I mean, it's a tough, tough life. They've got to make sure the
Mm-hmm.
kids are taken care of, that they're in a safe place if they're working, if they don't have any family. I mean, this is really all on their shoulders. So it's really a tough kind of what I call a hamster's wheel that they can't get off of because, kind of hope seems so far away. But that's why it's so important to read books and to have people like you who can show them
Mm-hmm.
there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So
Yeah,
let's go back to
absolutely.
that other question, inhibitors to people's success. What other inhibitors are there? And
Okay, and
what can
yeah,
people what are you doing to help them through their suffering? I think that's the key.
yeah, okay, real quick. And then the third one is not living in the present. So I'll go through that real quick. And this one was really tough as I started my own transformational journey because at the time I was doing really well in the business world, with one of my strengths being strategic planning, or planning for the future. So as I started to realize the importance of living in the present, it seemed to be in direct conflict with strategic planning. How could they actually coexist? But uh, if you, like I did, pay close attention to your thoughts or where you're placing attention, and most of us are living in the past or future, not reflecting on what happened a long time ago, or I should say reflecting on what happened a long time ago, or getting caught up in feelings of regret, what happened last week, or fearful of what might happen in the stock market impacting your ability to retire. The thoughts are endless. And, it's unfortunate we spend so much time in either because we don't exist. We aren't existing right now if we are. The past is gone, the future isn't here yet, neither is real. So by placing our focus on the past or future, we take ourselves out of where our real power lies to do anything which is right now. Right now is the reality, and right now as well the power exists to create.